But the old mother wept to think such innocent blood was to be shed, and had a hind brought by night and cut out her tongue and eyes, and kept them. Then said she to the queen, I cannot have you killed as the king commands, but here you may stay no longer. Go forth into the wide world with your child, and never come here again. The poor woman tied her child on her back, and went away with eyes full of tears. She came into a great wild forest, and then she fell on her knees and prayed to God. And the angel of the Lord appeared to her and led her to a little house on which was a sign with the words, Here all dwell free. A snow-white maiden came out of the little house and said, Welcome, Lady Queen, and conducted her inside. Then she unbound the little boy from her back, and held him to her breast that he might feed, and laid him in a beautifully made little bed. Then said the poor woman, From whence do you know that I was a queen? The white maiden answered, I am an angel sent by God, to watch over you and your child. The queen stayed 7 years in the little house, and was well cared for. And by God's grace, because of her piety, her hands which had been cut off, grew once more. At last the king came home again from his journey, and his first wish was to see his wife and the child. Then his aged mother began to weep and said, You wicked man, why did you write to me that I was to take those 2 innocent lives? And she showed him the 2 letters which the evil one had forged, and then continued, I did as you bade me. And she showed the tokens, the tongue and eyes. Then the king began to weep for his poor wife and his little son so much more bitterly than she was doing, that the aged mother had compassion on him and said, Be at peace, she still lives. I secretly caused a hind to be killed, and took these tokens from it. But I bound the child to your wife's back and bade her go forth into the wide world, and made her promise never to come back here again, because you were so angry with her. Then spoke the king, I will go as far as the sky is blue, and will neither eat nor drink until I have found again my dear wife and my child. If in the meantime they have not been killed, or died of hunger. Thereupon the king travelled about for 7 long years, and sought her in every cleft of the rocks and in every cave. But he found her not, and thought she had died of want. During the whole time he neither ate nor drank, but God supported him. At length he came into a great forest, and found therein the little house whose sign was, Here all dwell free. Then forth came the white maiden, took him by the hand, led him in, and said, Welcome, Lord King, and asked him from whence he came. He answered, Soon shall I have travelled about for the space of 7 years, and I seek my wife and her child, but cannot find them. The angel offered him meat and drink, but he did not take anything, and only wished to rest a little. Then he lay down to sleep, and laid a handkerchief over his face. Thereupon the angel went into the chamber where the queen sat with her son, whom she usually called Sorrowful, and said to her, Go out with your child. Your husband has come. So she went to the place where he lay, and the handkerchief fell from his face. Then said she, Sorrowful, pick up your father's handkerchief, and cover his face again. The child picked it up, and put it over his face again. The king in his sleep heard what passed, and had pleasure in letting the handkerchief fall once more. But the child grew impatient, and said, Dear mother, how can I cover my father's face when I have no father in this world? I have learned to say the prayer, Our Father, which art in heaven. You have told me that my father was in heaven, and was the good God. And how can I know a wild man like this? He is not my father. When the king heard that, he got up, and asked who they were. Then said she, I am your wife, and that is your son, Sorrowful. And he saw her living hands, and said, My wife had silver hands. She answered. The good God has caused my natural hands to grow again. And the angel went into the inner room and brought the silver hands and showed them to him. Hereupon he knew for a certainty that it was his dear wife and his dear child. And he kissed them and was glad and said, a heavy stone has fallen from off my heart. Then the angel of God ate with them once again. And after that they went home to the king's aged mother. There were great rejoicings everywhere. And the king and queen were married again, and lived contentedly to their happy end.